Getting the facts and giving hot takes. Getting the stats, he never takes breaks. Always there for you. He's like a mesh.
Hello, and welcome to the weekly update with your commissioner, Andrew Skalitsky. Our top two stories tonight involve two teams that received major ass beatings. First up, we have Mike Bishop, who experienced the power of Joe's teams firsthand. Joe was one of the highest scoring teams last year, and he's right on pace with some of the same key players. Turns out Christian McCaffrey is still really good for fantasy football. Next, we have Jason Cole, who, although put up a decent amount of points, still received a major ass beating from Andrew with Josh Jacobs, his golden boy, and of course David Johnson, who Cole said was washed up and done. Turns out David Johnson was not washed up, and he is not done, but he is done kicking Cole's ass. Brian scored the third most points last week, barely beating Vince by 0.2 points. This is one of the closest matches we've ever had. The current standings are Joe in first place, myself, Brandon, Brian Smith, Caleb Rondos, and Thomas Peterson. Then 6 other people that all lost. The first matchup we'll look at this week is myself versus Matt Erdman. Matt Erdman is starting Barkley, who had a pretty underwhelming week 1, just like Matt. However, it's going to be a tough week going against myself. The three-headed beast that I've been starting is Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and David Johnson. How will Matt end up trying to beat me? I asked his good friend, Caleb Rondos. Here's the quote. I don't really think there is a chance that he beats you. I mean, look at his team. Oof. The next matchup I'd like to look at is Jason Cole versus Thomas Peterson. I asked Thomas how nervous he is starting Lindsey, Cooks, and Connor, who are all 3 questionable to even play this week. The quote I got from Thomas was, "Wow, they're injured? Should I not start them?" We'll see how he does. Cole is projected to win by the highest percentage of any team this week. I think Camaro should have a big week, and I think Cole should come away with his first W of the season. Our next matchup is Josh Wood versus Jason Brondos, the league Sacco. He's off to a hot 0-1 start and is looking to reclaim that Sacco title. This matchup I think really comes down to the quarterback play, Burrows versus Mahomes. And I think Mahomes, as we can all agree, is a better quarterback, and Josh will come out on top of this matchup. After all, I did pick Josh to win the entire thing. So we'll see how this plays out. I think another key piece to this matchup is Mark Ingram. He didn't get a lot of carries last week, and he didn't look all that good. I asked Josh how he felt about Ingram, and he told me this. Ingram's totally solid. No worries. Why, are you looking for a trade? I could trade you Ingram for the right price. The next matchup we have is my brother Brandon Skalitsky versus Caleb Rondos, the 2018 champ versus the 2019 champ. Although they're both off to a 1-0 start, both teams are looking rather average. Caleb Rondos is Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson and a bunch of nobodies, versus my brother Brandon, who is Aaron Rodgers and Hyde Edwards-Helaire and a bunch of nobodies. We'll see how it goes, but I feel like the 4 players I mentioned will decide this game one way or the other. I'm actually looking at Lamar Jackson here to have an average game, and for Aaron Rodgers to actually overachieve his projection. I'm giving Brandon the win this week. Our next matchup is Joe Hoover versus Brian Smith. It's pretty hard to bet against Joe considering he was the highest scoring team last week. Some of the questions I have about his roster are, will Russell Wilson continue to throw this much, and can Leonard Fournette do anything? Leonard Fournette was used very little last week. Brian Smith, on the other hand, had a sneaky win last week, and although he was a rather low-scoring team, I think Deshaun Watson is an underrated quarterback. Deshaun Watson should look for a better matchup this week and possibly have a chance to put up more points. I think this one could be a little closer than it looks, but I am giving Joe the edge in this matchup and expect him to win. Our next and final matchup is Vince versus Mike. Now, the Cowboys are playing Atlanta this week, and I expect a high-scoring game for the Cowboys, which almost always means a win for Mike. Some of the concerning parts of Vince's team are his 2 running backs, Montgomery and Carson. Montgomery not looking great, and Carson only having a few touches last week. Of course, Carson was able to make the most out of it and scored 2 touchdowns. I do expect Mike to win this match, so I don't think there's too much more to talk about. This has been your weekly update with the commish. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back next week to discuss reactions and picks for next week. Good luck to everyone. Unless you're playing me, go fuck yourself, Matt.